Welcome to the Therapy Dogs Australia podcast. I'm Sam King, owner of Therapy Dogs Australia, psychologist, animal assisted therapist, and accredited dog trainer. With over a decade in the field with my team of dogs, I'm here to share practical advice, honest stories, and expert insights for professional therapy dog handlers, dog trainers, and canine enthusiasts who want to live and work ethically and expertly with their canine co-therapist.
And I'm Max, your co-host, Therapy Dogs Australia's creative lead and passionate dog owner, here to ask questions and bring curiosity as we explore this fascinating industry together.
So, whether you're a seasoned handler or just starting out, this podcast is here as a professional development resource to support you and your dog on your journey throughout this exciting industry.
While chatting to a range of inspiring people about our absolute love of dogs and the power of the human-animal bond. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave us a review to help others find us too.
Today we are talking to Sue Chipperton, who is a dog trainer in Hawaii, who I have met through the Pat Stewart School networking sort of situation that's going on over there. And we've, listened to Sue talk on some community calls and stuff like that. So I thought it would be a great idea for us to have a chat with Sue. And we're going to talk today about puppy board and trains, which is going to be a hot little topic. So Sue's going to talk to us all about that stuff. But first, we want to introduce you, Sue, because you actually have a really cool job and dog career and stuff that you do, as well as puppy board and trains. Do you want to let us know what you've been up to?
Sure. And thanks for having me, by the way. I have been training animals for film, TV, and print for like the last 32 years. The 21 years was in Los Angeles. I worked for a company there. That's where I kind of got my feet wet and learned how to do that particular style of training. And then after 21 years, Los Angeles can kind of get to you a little bit. So I was looking to move someplace else, but obviously as a studio animal trainer, you have to go where they make movies. And it's only a limited amount of places in the United States that does that. So it was a bit tricky trying to decide, at the time, Atlanta was really hot. New Orleans was really hot. Those were two places I did not want to move to. And so I ended up on a job in Hawaii in 2013 on Godzilla, just with producers that I'd worked with in the past. So I ended up in Hawaii doing this job for the summer. And then when I left, I was like, oh, I don't want to leave here. This is pretty cool. And the local production people were like, why don't you come back and start your own company? Because there's nobody here that does what you do. And, they would have to fly in trainers whenever they need anybody for, movies and TV work here. Obviously you deal with it as well, the quarantine situation. So it sure helps to have that support system for having animals that you can provide for the film industry that have, they're here, they're trained, or I actually work with the LA animal companies and get all their rabies titers and everything done so they could literally get on a plane tomorrow if I don't have a dog that they want and somebody in LA has it. So I've been doing that for 21 years in Los Angeles. And then I came out here and started my own company in 2014 and have been doing that ever since. And my whole 32 years of doing animal training for the studios, when there's any kind of downtime, I've always done pet dog training. And I've always leaned more towards puppy training because I don't really enjoy behavior mod. I love a blank slate and getting those puppies off to the best start in life. And we train so many puppies for TV and film commercials and whatever, that I already had a head start on the whole puppy thing. So yeah, that's what I've been doing for 32 years. And then the film industry kind of took a slowdown after COVID. And then we had a lot of union strikes because we're union trainers. And when that happened, I had a lot more time to dedicate to doing puppy training. And so I don't even advertise. I have a group of close friends. They're all dog trainers here on Oahu, and they all do slightly different programs for behavior mod, but they all hate training puppies. So whenever they get a client that comes to them and they want to have puppy training, they send them to me and it keeps me pretty busy. So that's kind of the up-to-date version of where I'm at right now.
Which is like really cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
I just think that's a pretty exciting dog training career. So yeah. Would we know any like of the dogs that you've trained? Like, can you tell us any like of the movies?
Well, probably the most famous here in the United States and back in the day, there's a lot of people, but today don't even know who she is. But the Taco Bell dog was a Chihuahua that I trained for a series of commercials for over the space of about 2 years, starting in, I think, like around 1998. So it's definitely back in the day. That was probably the most high profile dog that I trained for, the fast food Taco Bell, and then Chihuahua, Mexican. So it all kind of tied in. And she talked, and she got all these stories. When we did like 40 commercials with her over the course of 2 years. So
wow,
she was very famous. I actually wrote a book that was primarily about her life, but kind of interspersed stories of working on set. So she was probably the most high profile. And then more recently that you may know is, even though you're in Australia and it's a US thing, the Super Bowl always has like, really high profile commercials. It's really expensive to have their commercials aired during the Super Bowl. And so for 2 years, I think it was 2014 and 15, Budweiser had a Labrador puppy that they used in their spots. So we had a litter of puppies to double one puppy. And so I trained those puppies for the Budweiser commercial. And I think it's still today voted like the number one commercial of the Super Bowl.
wow,
Oh my God.
Full time. So yeah.
I'm going to start Googling all of these when we hop off this podcast. I'm going to go watch them all now.
That's so cool. That's
Very
really cool. So lots of trick training stuff would be involved.
Yeah. And, the company that I used to work for in Los Angeles, obviously Hollywood, Los Angeles is the hub of movies and television. And so there was probably around 6 to 8 top animal companies that production companies would go to source animals. And everybody kind of had their little niche. And the company I worked for was mostly commercials, which was a faster paced training scenario because you can literally get a call on a Friday, late on a Friday, and hey, we're shooting a commercial week on Thursday, next Thursday, and we need the dog to do, pick up some keys, walk into the living room, go with an actor, get in the car, and just do, a whole bunch of things. And so, we submit all the dogs that can do that in that period of time. It's for some prep work and training time. And so it's a really high, quick turnaround time for training and just being on set and suddenly doing it. Whereas there's animal companies, like there's an animal company called Birds and Animals Unlimited, and they were known for doing all the big animal movies like 101 Dalmatians and that kind of thing. So each animal company kind of had their own little thing, but we all worked together. So if we didn't have like an Afghan hound for a commercial, but another animal company did, we would subcontract from them and use their trainer, and our trainer would go to set and do it. So we all worked together, but we all had our, all the companies had their own little things that they did. And commercials was our main thing, which was actually a really good start for me, because learning that way, how to really just like, not cut corners, but just, like figure stuff out really quickly for like trick training and solid behaviors on animals. And of course, the standard stuff when you do studio work, all dogs need to learn how to go hit a mark, whether standing on a marker board, but maybe it's this big. So there's certain things that if you can do all the basic foundation work, then obviously with any kind of training, you can branch off and then, okay, he can do this, he can do that. So that means we can just put that together and make him, go retrieve those keys, go to his mark over there and put it all together like a jigsaw puzzle. So I'm actually really grateful that I worked for that company and learned that way. Whereas the companies that did the movies, they would have 6 months prep to train for a movie. And I know a lot of times they had puppies and they had very intricate things to do. Like, I wouldn't even know what to do with 6 months training time for a dog. It would be like way too long. So that was, that was kind of our style back then, kind of fast-paced training.
That's so cool.
Very
Really cool. How do people do they have, like, sometimes I might see on Facebook, like, people go, oh, we're looking for this breed dog for this movie, something. Do people sign their dogs up? Like, whose dogs do you use?
Well, it's a good question, because in Los Angeles, we all the trainers, we all tend to, across 8 companies. I mean, when I worked at Studio Animal Services, we had 80 dogs. At one point we had about 100 dogs on our ranch, about 80 cat teams, squirrels, ducks, birds, rats. And then the same with the other companies. And we, if another company has a really good team of labs, because you don't just have one, you have 2 and sometimes even 3 to double each other, then we're not going to get a team of labs. We'll get something different, so that we all end up having like a mix. But I forgot what your question was.
Where do they live? Like, do you mean like there would be like a ranch and all the animals would live there?
Yeah, so
that's amazing.
The company I worked for in Los Angeles was owned by 2 people and partners, and the one partner lived on the ranch, and we had kennels, and they lived, a lot of dogs. We got the majority of our dogs from shelters. It's really interesting, because when we like all the dogs that people don't like, as pets. Like, they drop off that crazy golden retriever that gets in the trash, jumps on the counters, knocks people over, and we're like, exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So, whenever we want the out of control, high energy, not too crazy high energy, but just we can just channel all that into studio work. We don't really, even though there are some more shy, retiring, quiet, dogs that have worked, for the most part, as far as I'm concerned, when I would go look for dogs, I'm looking for that crazy jumping on you the minute they see you in the shelter. And if they're doing all that in the shelter, and they're super friendly in the shelter, and like super happy and jumping up on you, there's a good chance that that's gonna, hey, if they're doing that there, they're a pretty good dog. Yeah. People just don't realize, and so they're like, my dog jumps on me and does crazy things like get in the trash, or like eats the couch, whatever. That's perfect. Thank you. We will take him. So
cool.
So dogs that were suited, there are dogs that are, this is probably going to be like, people are going to say, oh, that's bullshit. But, there's dogs that have to live in homes. There are certain dogs that don't do well in kennel type situations. So we had like 10, 12 trainers that worked at that company. And between us, I mean, I've had like 6, 7 dogs that live at my house. Other trainers the same. We all have setups with our, we would get, houses with properties where we could set up zones for our dogs at home. And so for the majority of the time, we would take the dogs home. And of course, all the little dogs and the delicate dogs, they all lived in trainers' homes. But when you've got like, a messy lab that poops and pees in his crate, and, the ones that are like just totally fine to live in a 20 by 20, like run with, shelter and everything, then we would have those at the ranch and they would stay there. So that's kind of how that worked.
Wow. I want to live on that ranch.
And then when I came to Hawaii and I started my own company, I couldn't have that business model because they don't film here, like obviously like they do in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a high turnover of production. So when I moved here, typically at the time when I moved here, Hawaii Five-0 was filming and they were in their 5th season. And so what would happen is they shoot from July through to like February, March, and then they go on hiatus for the summer. And then a movie would come in here for the summer because there's only so much resources we have here as far as support crew and equipment. And, of course, they still ship stuff over from Los Angeles to, specialized, camera equipment or whatever. But we do have a really good support system here. And so when the TV shows would go on a hiatus for the summer, typically a movie would just slot in and come here. And who knows whether it's got animals in it or not. I could, I've gone times when I haven't worked on a movie during the summer, and there's other times when I have, and it's hit or miss. So I can't have a compound or a ranch with all these animals on it, hoping that one day someone's going to knock on my door and say, we need a white cat for a job. And with cats, you have to train them. I mean, I know dogs, you have to train like daily, a lot, but cats, just you have to train them every single day and you have to take them everywhere. And so I was just, okay, I'm just going to have my core team of dogs. So I started off with a yellow lab because they will always get hired for the family dog. Then I had a little scruffy terrier, which is always going to get cast. And so you kind of over the years will learn to, which dogs are the popular ones that have character, like the mixed breeds and everything, the ones like the little scruffy terrier. And then I got a German Shepherd Malinois mix because I didn't want a Malinois because they were really hot at the time. And I didn't want a German Shepherd. And I thought, well, if I get a mix, so it's an intentional, it was this person that actually bred mixes. And I thought, well, I can sell it either way. If they want a Malinois, I'm like, yeah, it's a Malinois. They want a Shepherd. Yes, of course, it's a Shepherd. So he was my third. And then I got a Staffordshire mix, a healer, and then another Staffy. So other than that, and those dogs are the most well-trained. And then I have trainers that work for me that are pet dog trainers. So they just come and assist me. But if I need, a lot of times they don't want those dogs. So I will go to people that I've worked with their pets, or my trainers have worked with a really good dog that they've trained, and it can easily be, trained to do a few things in a short amount of time. And then I also have a working relationship with all the animal companies in Los Angeles. And so they can fly over as well. So, but I just can't have like a whole ton of animals sitting here. It just wouldn't make sense financially. So
Yeah.
I just play it by ear and see what comes along and try and get what they need.
So what does like a typical training day look like for you? Like when you're on a time crunch, like you said, with commercials, and you've only got 4 or 5 days before you go on set.
Well,
how do you work dogs when you've got a time pressure, but also making sure they're open to...
Yeah. So here they don't shoot that many commercials. When I moved here, it was Y50 was filming. Then when that ended, Magnum PI actually had some crossover. So that was filming. And so I always thought, when I knew Hawaii 5.0 before I moved here had done a reboot, I'm like, they are going to do a Magnum PI reboot. There's no way they're not going to, because all these like TV shows that were just, redoing old TV shows. I'm like, there's no way Hawaii is going to do a Magnum PI reboot. So my trainer friend in LA, she had a really good Doberman that does studio work. So I immediately had his rabies titer done and everything, so he could just get on a plane and come here. So I always had him on the back burner. And then sure enough, one day, hey, we're going to do Magnum PI. So I had him. And then I had a really good pet dog here that I did some training for. That was probably one of the hardest, it was a month, but it was still a lot because the pilot episode of Magnum was crazy what they asked for. And so I've got one really good dog, and then I've got a pet dog. Both of them are not fixed. Both of them did not know each other, and they have to work alongside each other. And it did have its moments. There was a scene that they, and the writers, they write stuff and they don't write it in a way that's like, they don't think, hey, we're going to have 2 dogs play tug of war with a towel. And they just don't give it any thought that, like, how's that going to pan out? Like, they just write it creatively, and it's up to you to come up with a solution on how to do it. Well, I've got 2 unneutered males that don't want each other and, getting possessive over a towel. And so I had said to them, I said, look, we've got this whole long laundry list of things that we have to train and shoot. When you do the scheduling for the shoot days, is there please any way that you can do the tug of war towards the end? So if anything happens, we don't have 2 dogs that are giving each other the stink eye for the rest of the shoot when they have to do all this other mellow stuff. Oh, yeah. We'll see if we can do that. No, day 1, they had to do the tug of war.
God, classic.
Yeah. So that kind of thing happens. It's like, you just can't, you just have to go with it and try your best. And the pet dog didn't even really like to play the tug of war. We had to like sew in a little pocket put chicken in, and then like, hey, the chicken's in here, and have him grab it. And then the other dog knew how to fetch, hold, and tug. So we would latch him on, and then we would show the other dog the chicken in the other end of the towel. And first take, they did a little tug, totally got into a fight. one of those fights where they just go up on their hind legs and do a lot of vocalization, but they don't actually touch each other.
Yeah.
And they were just like, "Arr." And so Chrissy was behind my dog and I was behind hers out of frame. And we just like silently just walked in, took them by the collar, walked them away. And everyone was like, oh my God. Afterwards, they were like, you guys were so calm, because it sounds and it looks bad, but we knew it wasn't really like serious. So now we have to do the whole pilot with dogs that are now like giving each other the side eyes. So stuff like that happens all the time. And then, of course, when we knew it got picked up for season 2, I went and sourced and found my own Dobermans from the mainland, and I ended up having 2 European Dobermans that worked for the rest of the 4 seasons. And I got a male and a female, and they were great dogs, and that was good. So we don't do many commercials here, so I'm not in that faster paced turnover. And if they do shoot a commercial here, I usually try and sell them on something that, like, one of my dogs that's already trained, and try and steer them towards, well, they can do this, they can do that, and do that. But yeah, for anything we've done here for movies or television, we do get a little bit of time.
But do you spend like days leading up to set?
Oh yeah,
working the certain tricks, I suppose, that are in there.
Yeah. So
do you have people to help you with certain scenes if there's an actor it's gonna?
So I have a team of trainers, pet dog trainers, that I'll pull, and luckily their schedules are really flexible, so they can reschedule their clients and just come and help me. And so what we'll do is usually we start training on the ranch where I live. We'll go through the list of behaviors and start building it and putting foundation on it. But we try and get off the ranch and get to the set. I have it written in my, contracts that we have to actually train them on the shooting set, which means wherever they're working, we have to go in there and do at least, depending on the action, like 2 or 3 days to get them used to it. Like when we did Lilo and Stitch in the animal shelter scene, it doesn't look like much because it's just dogs in kennels and they're just barking, and that seems pretty easy, but they built those kennels and they echoed really weird. And there was, I had 4 dogs, my dogs, in there that were pretty bomb-proof, and they would just stand there, and when I could cue them to do things, they would do them. But the rest of the dogs in there were like trainers' pet dogs or clients' pet dogs that we had picked because they were good. So we just told them we needed to get in there for like 4 days, and there was little like things that they had to do. Of course, most of it never gets seen in the final cut, but all the dogs were trained to do like little cute things. Like when Stitch came in, they were supposed to act scared of him. And so one of the things that they did keep in was this cute little Portuguese water dog puppy. He was like 6 months old, where she hid under her raised dog bed, and just things like that. So we told them we have to prep on the actual shooting location. So we try and get to the shooting location as quickly as possible. Sometimes it's not even built yet, or it's an actual practical building, a real house or a real office building, and we can't get in there because they're not going to pay the rental fee for just for us to go in for a period of time. So it just depends how it works out, but it's always better to get into the environment that you're going to be working in.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool, Sue. It's fascinating. And as you're talking, I was thinking of like so many shows and commercials have got dogs in them or animals in them, and I just like don't even think anything of it. Like it's like I just think that dog is just doing that naturally or whatever. Like, but when you really think about it, it's like, no, there would be someone like Sue like there with this dog, like getting it to do all this stuff. It's just crazy to think. Yeah, we include them so much in that stuff. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, very cool.
It beats a regular job, that's for sure.
I bet. I bet. So now that we know that a bit about you as a trainer, one of the things that you do is puppy board and trains. And I can't remember if I've spoken about puppy board and trains much on the pod. I don't think I have.
Not much, no.
Because gone on a little bit in the therapy dog industry, and this got brought to Sue's attention because someone posted a Facebook post saying like puppy board and trains are a bunch of BS and whatever. It's not
You're only
not good.
doing it for money and
Yeah,
Right.
it's
and it's like,
unethical.
and that it's not good for the puppies and like they won't
Right.
bond with their owners and stuff like that. And so Sue was like, put something in the school and was like, what's going on here? Like, because that was an Australian person.
Yeah, I'm like,
Ah,
what? I didn't know I would have had so many people hating me for doing puppy boarding trains. I just live on an island in the middle of the Pacific training puppies. I didn't know this was a thing.
So by the time this had come around, and I've discussed this a little bit with Sue, but I used to think that way. Like I know I've had conversations with Amy, but I don't think we've ever talked about it publicly about how like, I don't get it with the puppy board and train. Like, I just don't get it why people are doing that. And then that was however long ago. And then someone put this thing on Facebook and then Sue brought it up. But in between all of that, so the post wasn't about Sue, obviously, because she lives in Hawaii. Like it was about other people in Australia. Anyway, it all came up as Facebook
Yeah,
does.
it makes sense after you explain that it was kind of maybe like a little passive aggressive dig at someone.
I think
specific.
I know. Yeah, 'cause we know who posted it, obviously, and I think I know who it was about.
oh,
Yeah.
you know who the poster is.
Yeah, well, because Sue saw the post. Like,
Yeah, I didn't know who they were. I didn't know who they were because
didn't
I've
know
never
who they were.
heard from them. But it was
It's a-
just what post just came up in my feed.
But it's a
and
known person
I know who they are.
to you.
I know
Right.
exactly who they are. So, and then Sue like mentioned the name like in her thing in school because that's like our private community, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she mentioned the name and I was like, oh no, I know. Because Sue's like, what the hell is going on here? And I'm like, I know exactly what's happened here. And because I know who they are, and I bet I know who this is about because I know who all these people are. But anyway, so I'm pretty sure like I can see what's going on. But I was like, to be fair, the concerns that I had about puppy board and trains, since that time, I've listened to Sue on like one of Pat's community calls talk quite a bit about it. And I was like, oh, well, Sue sounds like a normal person. Like, it's like, that sounds all right. Like, you know, and I think that's where, so I started to change my opinion then, which I'll tell everybody what my opinion is in a minute. But I started to change my opinion about it then because I was like, oh, well, Sue seems cool and she does it. So, but I don't really care. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, whatever. Like, I don't do it. So whatever. But I think it will be important to talk about like, what is it? And in the therapy dog industry, which is where all these trainers are that I'm talking about, there has become a bit of like an opinion. Obviously, there's one side of the coin that's like, you should not be doing puppy board and trains. If you do, like it's a waste of money, blah, blah, and if you do it, your puppy won't bond with you and blah, blah, blah. And then there's the other school of thought, which has become picked up a fair bit of steam. And I think that's where this Facebook post was, how it was triggered. There are a couple of businesses that have picked up a fair bit of steam saying sort of the opposite of like, you really, really should be doing it. And there's some breeders and people that are saying, no, you must do it with the puppy board and train. And then, so we've got these two schools of ideas, but who we have in the middle always is the client who has no idea. They have no idea.
Right. No idea.
No idea what they should and shouldn't be doing. And so it kind of was coming up on my radar a bit because people were sort of saying to me, there's two misconceptions that is happening for the client. One is I haven't done a puppy board and train, so my dog isn't going to be able to be a therapy dog. The other one is I've done a puppy board and train, so now my dog is a therapy dog.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
both of those
and I don't.
both of those are correct.
Right.
So I thought,
And I don't have to
maybe
deal
we
with
should
that
talk
side
about
of it. Yeah, I don't have to deal with this with the therapy dog part of it because obviously I don't train for that. But
Yes.
yeah, where do you want to start?
We've got quite a, I think we're an emotive little industry, you know, like we're probably an emotive group of people because we're dog people, but we're also in this like human services field and stuff as well. So we're probably a unique bunch, the therapy dog
Yes.
trainer people. So
Probably
like,
all very opinionated as well.
yeah, I'm definitely super opinionated. And so that's why I thought it'd be cool for you to come in and talk, because I would never have changed my opinion if I hadn't have like met you and heard you talk about it and been like, that sounds all right, like, and I think that's important for everybody to try and like, yes, we can all be very opinionated, cool, and you can have your opinion, but we need to learn about what this is and
Right.
then give everybody all the information and let people choose for themselves. Because I have told the dog trainer before that was going to set up their business like that I thought it would be a waste of time. So I'm going to contact her. send her this podcast and be like, well, now I know more about it. So I probably shouldn't have said. And one of the things I've acknowledged for myself as well, like, and we talked about this in the school, I don't think I can come from this super unbiased because I love puppies so much. I just want to smell their breath. And it's just the most special time as a little baby dog. And they're so cute. They're so cute. And their breath smells like milk.
And it doesn't last
so
long.
everything they do is so silly and funny. And they're just little tiny, tiny babies. And I just can't fathom for myself that I would ever not have that time. Like, that's my favorite time with the dogs. So I think I brought along like my own thing about that, like
Right.
that's like, so, and I cannot understand. And I think the Facebook post, that person probably is similar. And like, I just cannot understand how anybody would send their baby dog away at that time, because it's the best time. You're never going to get. I take hundreds of photos. Like, I'm like, you're never going to get this back. I've had enough puppies now. But like, you're never going to get this time back. But through talking to Sue, I'm like, well, of course, that's not normal, Sam. Like, that's my normal, but that's not like normal, that people are just, and especially for me, I've raised quite a few dogs. So having a puppy doesn't like freak me out. And, I've got a system. And so there's a lot of things that are easy for me that someone that hasn't. And one of the things that you said, Sue, like sometimes these people have not had a puppy in their life for 20 years, 15 years, 12 years. It's just their other dogs died of old age at 16.
Right.
And now they got a puppy and they've got no idea. And they're not trying to
puppy
smell
blues
its breath all day. Like,
as well.
Yeah.
Puppy blues, is something a lot of people experience, which
I have actually seen that. And I have seen some of our clients kind of struggle through like puppyhood. And I'm like, just smell their breath. It's really fine. Like,
just keep sniffing.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So do you want to give us a rundown? Like, what is puppy board and train? Some people will be like, what are you even talking about?
Okay. So, and you know what? It's not for everybody. There are people that I've spoken to, potential clients, and, when they realize that their puppy's going to go away and they're like, no, I think I'll actually look into like group classes or private one-on-one training. And I could probably figure it out with the help of a trainer coming to meet me and do an hour, like, 4 times a week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So my earpiece fell out. I'm not a hard seller. It's like, I couldn't care less really if you don't want to send your dog to me. It's like, I've got a pretty long line of people that want to do it. And so you either want to do it or you don't want to do it. And it's a lot of actually referrals and from the other trainers that I work with. Like I said before, I have a group of close friends. What's really nice, just on a side note, is here on Oahu, 4 of my closest friends are all dog trainers, and they all do something different. They all do mostly behavior mod, but slightly different programs. Like the one person Kristen will go to people's homes when they're at work and do that kind of system. Another one does board and trains, and and another friend of mine does service dog training. So they all do something slightly different. But like I said before, they don't actually enjoy training puppies. So I don't even advertise. I just get referrals from them. I get referrals from previous clients. And so I have conversations with them and explain to them what's going to happen. And I'm really clear. I'm very clear about it. I'm not just saying, send me your dog and let's take your money and then handing them back something, weeks or 5 weeks later, and you're on your own. My contract is very clear the way I have it laid out. I make them sign twice. Initial, where I state you have to continue and maintain the training program when your puppy comes home, or else within 2 weeks, you'll have the same kind of puppy as you had when you first sent them to me. And that has only happened like twice, where that's happened and a person has not done anything. And then they, my puppy's kind of feral. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, don't want to talk to you about it, because we've gone over this, many times about having to maintain it. So once I have a conversation with them and I explain, I think I explain everything to them. I explain, the puppies in my home. I don't have a dog, a row of dog kennels with puppies in it. They live in my home, right? I have crates set up in my living room. And so they live in my home, and I train them daily, and I take them out, and we can go over all that stuff later. But I explain everything to them that I possibly can, then let them make an informed decision. I have a lot of free information on my website about puppy training. If they really, wanted to do it themselves, they could actually read through that and figure out some stuff on their own. But the people that end up coming to me and wanting to do it, they work. Most of them, they're gone 8 hours a day. I still actually, when I think back at my own childhood and us having family dogs and my parents both working, I look back and I go, how did we do that? Because I don't remember it being a thing, like it was just, we had a puppy, everybody left for the day, and the puppy was like at home, and we didn't have crates back then. So it's definitely, the world of dog training has changed considerably over the years and the decades.
Well, our pet dog, Sue, when I was a kid, used to just jump the fence and go and dick around the community for the whole day. And then he'd hear our car coming back up the road, and you'd see him running up the road, and he'd meet us in the drive, like jump the fence back again. It was a German Shepherd. That's what he used to do all day. Funny. So I don't know what everyone else's dog had this time. Back in the, late 80s, early 90s, that sort of shit was going on. So yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. So, I have a 3-week minimum. Like I used to, if they wanted me to take puppies at 8 weeks when they got them from the breeder, I would say yes. And then I changed that to, no, take the puppy home for a week and I'll take it, or 2. Take it home for 1 or 2 weeks, and I'll take it when it's 9 or 10 weeks old. And my reasoning for that is they get to experience all the things, and then they will appreciate the before and the after. Because if I take it at 8 weeks, they're not going to know what the before was. So I really want them to see how much work is involved with crate training, with housebreaking, with all the things that you need to do to be successful in puppy training. And if I just take the puppy, there's a few exceptions, like we have breeders, all the different islands. And this one client recently had a puppy that his wife had just given birth. And he's like, just go pick the puppy up from the airport. It was 8 weeks old. So there are exceptions to the rule where I will take an 8-week-old puppy. And I've already trained a previous puppy of his. But for the most part, it's a 9 or 10 week. Go home, have fun with your puppy for 2 weeks, realize that it's a lot of work. And they quite willingly, they're like, here's the puppy. See you in 5 weeks. So most of my clients do actually do the 5-week program. They have to do minimum 3 week. And from then on, I can offer whatever. We can come up with custom programs or whatever, but it's either mostly a 3-week or a 5-week program. And I just do, obviously the housebreaking is kind of contextual, obviously, with my home and then the client's home. So I don't really go too deep onto I'm going to housebreak your puppy so that it knows to go to the door and go outside, because they'll know to go to my door and go outside, but then they'll go straight back to a new environment and they have to be retaught there. So I will crate train, and we'll get your dog on a feeding and watering schedule, and there's daytime crating for chances to like settle and self-regulate, and after high activity or training sessions. And then I start everybody on basic obedience. And I have a system, that I've fallen into as to how I start. And I'm quite happy to pivot when that doesn't work and figure something out. If the dog isn't there, I meet the puppy, where they're at when they land at my place. Like the lab that I had come in, 10 weeks ago, the one I picked up from the airport at 8 weeks, he couldn't even track my hand to take a piece of food from it because he was just the big dopey lab puppy that was just like, I can't even see you. And so I was just like, dude, let's just go take a week off. He was here, but I also don't have a definitive end date. Like they come to me for 3 weeks, but I tell the client, don't have your calendar on the wall crossing the days off for when your puppy's going to come home. Because if we have some like up and downs or he needs a day off, I'm going to give him a day off, but I'm going to tack that day onto the end of your board and train. So I don't have like dogs coming home on the 25th and they're sitting there at the calendar counting the hours, because then obviously the day before I need him for another 3 days. So that's pretty typical. And that particular lab, I kept him for an extra week to make up for the week that he just hung out here and learned how to actually take food from my hands. So I will pivot. I will meet them where they're at and we will get started. And one of the first things I do with each puppy is I will do a stationary heel against a wall on a marker board, and I will just get that engagement right off the bat and get the marker word yes going. And we just stand there and have fun until literally at the end of week 1, the majority of the puppies are just like, I put that board down and they fly into position and they stand there and it's just creating muscle memory. And then we start taking a couple of steps and we just build on that. And this is all off leash. They don't even have a collar on. It's just them deciding that that's the best place to be if they want to have, eat their kibble. And for the most part, I try and, use their kibble for training. And I just love it. I mean, I fall in love with every single puppy that comes through here. And one of the biggest and the nicest things that clients have commented and said to me and texted during training, after training, is that they can see from the videos, because I videotape everything and then I put all the training videos in a Google Drive folder so that the clients can track along and also know how to go backwards in training for themselves. I explain that to them if something is starting to fall apart. But one of the biggest and the nicest things and compliments that I get from clients is they'll say, it really shows how much you love the puppies and how much you care for them just by watching you interact with them. And so, that's so the healing is the first thing I do, and get them just get that engagement. And it's just, when you think about a puppy owner trying to do that when the puppy comes home, it doesn't make any sense that they would even know how to do that. Like,
exactly.
Unless they've done they're just a nerd and they've done some online research and they've come across Michael Ellis or, people that do things and they're like, yes, I'm going to find some training videos and I'm going to find some puppy training videos and I'm going to go along day by day, week by week. So then the next thing I teach is place on a raised dog bed. And I use I get bath mats from TJ Maxx and I put a bath mat on the raised dog bed. And so I teach a settle. And with dogs that stay with me longer, eventually I'll teach tethering. So they learn to be tethered on a dog bed. And then what I do is once we've got some traction with that and their stay is pretty good, I will transfer that piece of carpet that's on the dog bed to the floor. And we start doing that. So now I'm mobile. So now at the end of week 2, I have progressed from stationary heel to walking along walls, doing the healing, stopping, starting. Automatic sits have already kicked in. The engagement is there. And I have my places and in between all of this, they're going out. We're going on outings just for exposure and socialization. So I don't take them on leash anywhere. And if I do it, they're on a harness because they don't know how to walk on a leash yet. So I don't want to muddy the water by, hey, we're going to go out and see things, but you're on a leash, but you don't know how to heel yet. So I'll either put them in a stroller, which I have hate it, but it's the only way to do it. I mean, I like when I see people with their like Pekingese walking through a mall with a stroller, I'm like, whatever rocks your boat, but that's not my thing. And it's like, but it works with puppies because they get to see it. But there I am with my stroller with my puppy.
So you're doing that, Sue, to prevent the parvo risk, like minimize that?
Actually, twofold. So it depends on their age, but because they don't know how to walk on leash yet, I don't want to have them on leash and pull.
Yeah.
I don't want to set them up to fail.
Yeah.
And be just randomly like walking. There are some dogs, and depending on the breed and the dog, that I will actually put them on a harness. And we do walks on the ranch here where I do sniff walks where they drag a long line on a harness. So, you know, dogs pick up pretty quickly equipment and what they can do. So, you know, when they're on a harness, they can do whatever they want. So there are some dogs that I will take out. As far as the parvo thing, when they come to me, they've had their first vaccination. And the first week I'm at home anyway, because I'm teaching that stationary heel and starting on place. And if I do go out, they'll be in a stroller. And I'll just try and take them to as many different places as possible for like just quick 10-minute get in and get out before anything bad happens.
Yeah.
And everybody usually knows me, like the neighborhood that I live in. So all the local coffee shops and the hardware stores. And it's a nice little small community, a couple of little small communities along the coastline that I go to. And then once we get into the second and third week, depending on their age, because if I've got them at 10 weeks and now at 12 weeks, they're going to get their second vaccination. My particular vet, who is the most amazing vet, I had to go through 5 vets to find her here, but she's the most amazing vet. She does all the outreach on the island. She's probably a vet that's seen more parvo than anybody, because we have a lot of homeless people here, a lot of homeless camps, and they all have dogs. And it's actually a really horrible puppy selling industry where the unethical pet stores actually buy puppies from the homeless people. So they continue to breed.
Okay.
I know. And then because you know, now they're like designer breeds. Oh, it's a healer and a whatever mix, you know. So the pet stores will sell them as a designer breed. And it's like, you got them from a homeless camp. Yeah. So my vet, she does outreach and she goes around to she's amazing. She goes around to all these camps, spay and neuter, vaccination, literally her and her vet techs in wagons and tables and just go and set up camp. And they're going around the island, and they're literally going around the island like every week. They'll map out a different area. So we're trying to knock that down. But she's on board with me when I talk to her about parvo after they've had their second vaccination. And I know that I don't know what they do there. Do you do 3 or 4? Because I know vets sometimes do 3. Yeah. Here they do 3 or 4. So I know we're just trying to slot in when that mom's immunity is, you know, gone and get that parvo vaccination kicking in. But she is she's like, look, if you're going to a low risk area and, you know, if you're going into a gated community in an affluent area where there's no stray dogs running around and everybody's got fancy dogs that are all vaccinated and you're on a sidewalk, I mean, there's a pretty low risk, you know, place to go walk your dog. So I'm not going to go take them to the homeless camps and walk next to them where there's a bunch of stray dogs. So at 12 weeks after they've had their second vaccination, I will put them on the ground in what I consider low risk areas. Yep. My local small hardware store, for example, not once have I ever seen a dog in there. And it's on a tile floor and I go in there, they know me and it's not a problem. So I start to do that. And of course, all the exposure and stuff that we go and sit outside schools. And, you know, the ranch that I live on, we actually my landlord has a gun range. So they have the law enforcement will come here and do shooting, which we have a lot of fireworks. Fireworks is a huge problem here for dogs.
Wow. Yeah.
And so gunfire at the range, from how far it is, because we're on a big ranch, so it's all the way down the other end. But when they're shooting, it's like a pop, 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 and it translates really nicely over to fireworks. So it's really fascinating to watch a puppy. You've got a 10-week-old puppy, and I hear them start to shoot, and I go downstairs, and I have my high value treat is beef meatballs. That's my go-to. And I'll go down there and I'll videotape. And of course, every puppy's different. Like the lab puppy I just had couldn't care less from day one that they were shooting. His ears didn't even move. typically their ears will go back or they'll suddenly be, startled. And it's just like, yes. And I just throw the food on the ground. And they usually shoot for about 3 minutes and then they'll stop and they'll have a conversation with the instructor and then they reload and they do it again. So it gives it a break. And by the third or the fourth time that they go shooting, the puppy doesn't even look, I mean, very rarely do they even like their ears don't even, they're just looking at me like, where's the meatballs?
Yeah.
So
Just give me the beef.
So that part of it is to me invaluable because that puppy is going to go home, and we have fireworks down in town every Friday night in Waikiki. Every time there's a football game or a fight, the locals set off fireworks. New Year's Eve and July 4th, it's illegal. Fireworks are illegal here. There's more fireworks here than anywhere I've ever been in the world. It's crazy. Yeah. So getting a dog used to fireworks, that's one of the things that I have on my list. And it's amazing to see that if it can be, and the thing is, unless you know there's a firework display, how do you get your puppy used to fireworks?
Yeah.
So it's really cool to do that. So I just run through all these things. The dogs that stay with me, the puppies that stay with me a little bit longer. My landlord has a pool, which has like a nice beach access entry. So it's really nice to be able to just walk them in. So they get exposed to water and swimming, because obviously there's beaches here and families want to go to the ocean and go swimming. So the people that have done my board and trains, I mean, they're just, when I explain to them, the hard part for me personally, and I'm sure happens a lot with trainers across the board, is not overwhelming the client with too much information, because it'll just like go over their head. But and I have that's probably like just the worst part of what I do, because I want to tell them everything. I literally want to be like, and then
me too.
They have a second fear period, but they may have a third, fourth, fifth, and sixth fear period. And and I'll like, Sue, stop, just stop, because they're looking at you like, oh my God, my puppy's going to be scared. It's like, so I really try and rein it in. But for the occasional client that does appreciate information, and I explain, I can either go in detail if I get the sense that they want to know more. I will go into detail about the critical period and explain to them how a single learning event happens and, all the things that they don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just impossible for them to know unless they're a nerd and they've done online research and they can, they come up with it. So when they learn these things, for the most part, they're shocked. They have no idea. When you tell them about the critical period and that window closing around whatever, the 14 to 16 week time frame, and then you explain to them like genetics can come into play. If your dog, we've all seen the pit bull that's been tied to a tree for 7 years of its life and never left the backyard and gets adopted, and it's the sweetest, nicest dog, doesn't care about anything, loves everyone, goes to any place, environment, and it's totally fine. And it hit the genetic lottery.
Yeah.
But you can't guarantee that that's going to happen. And so when you explain that to the client, that, okay, you may have just gone and bought a golden retriever puppy. And unless, let me tell you, there's not many good golden retriever puppy breeders here, but unless you've, done your research and you found like the one that does, genetic health tests and all the stuff, and you can track back the parents and the grandparents and see and meet dogs that are like 5, 6, 7 years old, you don't know what you're going to get. And that critical period is either going to help that genetically challenged puppy, or it's just going to make a stronger dog out of a dog that was already like blessed genetically. So, and then you've got, and then you have the whole breed thing. So like, you have the healers and the border collies, and they're like, here where I am, and especially where you are, your farm dogs and the ranch dogs, they're actually working dogs, and somebody wants them as a pet.
Yeah.
So, so that, and I explained to them, here we have a dog that is used to doing this, and now you're going to make them a pet and put them in your home with your children. And so when you start to explain all these things to them, it is really that the biggest thing for me is so easy to just overwhelm them with information. But the majority of them are appreciative of it and have absolutely no clue about any of it. Even picking the right dog and the right breed. And if it's a show line or a walk-in line, you know, so it's just endless really, as far as like what I can do. Like I have a little Cairn Terrier right now. I don't usually take older puppies, but it was a referral from a client that I trained her 10-week-old Jack Russell, and he happened to be the most mellow Jack Russell I've ever seen. So it made me look good, but I didn't do that. I did the training, but he was just like a really good little quiet puppy. And so these friends have this Cairn Terrier, and they're an older couple. I don't know why they got this dog, because, you know, people just go down the line and like, I'm going to get a Cairn Terrier, and we're 75 years old. And they, you know, the dog, I don't think he's been anywhere. I mean, he'll walk through grass, and one blade of grass will be a little bit longer than the other, and he'll look at it like it's an anomaly. So, you know, he's already kind of like a challenge, and it's going to be hard, a little bit harder. But had I had him, you know, when he was 10 weeks old, we could have pushed through all that a lot easier. So I think for the people that work and that just don't know what they're doing, and then as far as the bonding, I call BS on that, because when I don't really know Robert Cabral, but that's, I think, why it popped up in my feed, because he commented on it. He's a US trainer, and I follow him because he goes to a local LA shelter and tries to get Malinois adopted. He'll go in and do like an assessment and then post for people to, you know, come and adopt this Malinois. And I just think what he does is really cool, but I don't really know anything else about him or his like training style or anything. And he's friends with a good friend of mine who has detection dogs. And so when he commented on it and agreed with that original poster, I was saying, hey, wait a minute, he's gonna hate me too. Like, and he was like, absolutely, you need to bond with your puppy. And I'm thinking, I've never had a client come back to me and say, here, I don't know what to do, and we're just not bonding.
Yeah. And it didn't make any sense to me, even that guy, I don't know who that guy is, that Robert guy, but he's helping rehome dogs that are not puppies. And so what does that mean? That no one can bond with those dogs? So no one that got a dog that was from a rescue or anything has bonded with it? Like, so even when you stop and think about it for even just a moment, you can go, well, that's obviously not true. That's why I think that those people who are saying, because it was me, like those people who are saying that, I think it's their own bias of their own experience of just how they could not fathom missing out on the puppyhood if it's available. Like if puppyhood is available,
right?
That, you know what I mean? I think that must be it, because the arguments actually don't really make sense. But I think from having you explain a bit about what you do, it made me reflect and go, because I think as well, and I mentioned this, but I think it's easy. So I don't understand, like, why would you give up this special time when it's not that hard? Like, it's like having a puppy is a nightmare, but like, it's not that hard. But that's me not having stopping for a minute and removing myself emotionally from it and going, no, Sam, it's not easy for people. Like, it is really hard. And having dogs at that very important time, because I thought, what could you possibly do with a dog in, you know, a puppy board and train? What could you possibly do with a puppy that the owner can't do themselves? And then, you know, they just need to spend a little bit of time every day doing that. I just can't understand, like, what value, where's the value? But when you actually break it down and remember that everyone's not me, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. And even being in, because we do our puppy school and adolescent school online and everything. And I just have so much empathy and compassion for our clients' situations, because their lives are so busy. Like, they have kids, they've got other family stuff going on. They've got work. They've got all this stuff going on. And even the fact, like, I take time off work when I get a puppy. Like, I don't just go to work. Like, I take time off work, but that's not normal. Like, I think people should do that to bring a puppy home. And I think you should take a couple of weeks off work, but people don't. So really, when I actually break it down and think about it and go, and I love the idea of, like, take the puppy home for the first week or two for exactly what you've described of, like, oh, okay, this is tricky. But also, if it's a really chill puppy, then people might even decide in that time, like, I think we're okay. Like, I think we'll be okay. I think we can do it. But then, certainly they take home for a couple of weeks, get to smell the puppy breath, and then go, okay, help us, Sue. Please help us.
Right.
And the value in it. So for any of the people who are listening thinking, do I need to do a board and train for my puppy? That socialization stuff that Sue's talking about, going out in the pram and stuff like that, it's actually pretty hard to get that right. And that's something that I only learned in the last 3 to 5 years, probably, because I just thought that people just got it right. But you can actually get that socialization stuff wrong. And you can absolutely
so wrong. Make it worse.
Make things ruin your so much worse. So even just the fact of, like, because I'm thinking, what do these trainers think they're doing with these puppies? Like, what do you take to pet barn once a week? Like, the owners could do that. But really, that might be part of it. But really what's happening is you're preventing anything bad or stupid happening in that time period. And there's value in that. Like, because it's when the stupid stuff happens and the owner has no idea. And why should they know?
Recover. Right.
Exactly. And why should they know? Right. But we know. And so I think I look at my dogs and I'm like, I love all these guys. They're great. Like, every dog I've got here is great. Like, it's easy to raise dogs, but really it's many, many years. Like, I'm the nerd. Like,
easy
I'm
for
the dog.
us.
It's easy for us because we've got all
it's
this
second nature. We don't even think about it. And you go out and you visit these places with a puppy, whether it's in a stroller or for me after they're 12 weeks of age, and where, I go down to the local coffee shop and I just so now I've gotten the carpet off the raised dog bed, and now that's become a marker board for them I throw it on the ground. It's like a magnet. They go to it, they lay on it. 12-week-old puppy in a coffee shop with people walking past. And I'm constantly watching their body language. And that's the thing is, when I take, even at like 14, 15, 16 weeks, when I take the puppy back, I have to instill in the clients, look, even though we've gone through this critical period and we may be out of it, there's still some things that can go wrong. And when you walk out the door with your puppy, or you put your puppy in the car and you're going to say, you're going to go to get a coffee, or you're going to go to a restaurant or an outdoor cafe where you can have a dog outside, you can't go with the mindset of, I'm going to go to the coffee shop to get a coffee and I'm just going to take the puppy.
Yeah.
Your mindset has to be,
totally,
I'm going to do a training session with my puppy. And if I can make it to the counter and get a coffee while I'm there, that's a bonus.
Yes.
100%. Could not. I want to this comment. This is a real life conversation.
And so I repeat that to them over and over again. I'm like, don't go for a 1.5 hour meal in an outdoor restaurant and think that your 15-week-old puppy is going to lay at your feet. I'm like, build up to it. You've got a 10-minute in and out, 10-minute in and out. Go in, put him on the carpet, have some positive associations, get him, watch his body language. And that's the other thing. It's like, obviously there's a lot of dogs that like the labs and a lot of the Goldens, just the dopey dogs that are just not too affected by too many things. But you get the more sensitive dogs like the healer that start tracking things, and you try and explain to them about watching their body language and their ears. And for me, that yes word, which obviously for a lot of trainers, whatever word you decide to use, followed by a high value treat, whether it's yes or a good or whatever that is, to me, that becomes to the clients, when I go over it with them, it's a get out of jail free card. And so when you're out and I tell them, I said, your puppy is going to look It's a new world. It's a new picture everywhere you go. I said, if he so much as looks because he hears this car starting up, say yes and reward him. He
Yeah.
may not be scared. He may not be like anxious or nervous. Just do it. I said, and then 3 teenagers come running around the corner at you, laughing and giggling, and he has a bigger reaction. Yes, redirect him, play with him, run backwards, throw the food on the ground. And I go over all of this with them. I also have my training videos because I'll just go up and set my tripod up in a corner of, a lanai somewhere outside of a coffee shop or the shops where I go to try and get all these little moments so they can see. And I'm that part about it, I try really instilling them. And I think that's the hardest part for me to get them to realize, is that if they keep value in that word from the moment that puppy comes home, and they don't just throw the yes word around without following it up with a high value reward.
Yeah.
If they keep value in it, that is going to get them out of so much trouble with their young puppy going into the teenage years. Not only is it engagement for training, but you can change your puppy's mind about what just happened, whether it's a small little look or a big, huge startle.
Yeah.
And the ones that get it and they've actually done it and come back to me and they're like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like, motorcycle started up and he jumped sideways and I said yes and threw the meatball on the floor and he was just like completely forgot about the motorcycle. So, the puppy's coming back to them pre-programmed. I kind of like to say that's what I do, is I pre-program them for them to take over.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to think about it, because there's a couple of things that you've mentioned that I think when new puppy parents try and do these things themselves, they can stuff it up. Whereas with someone who knows what they're doing can do this with a puppy quite quickly. What is teaching dogs to lure? Like you mentioned that before with the lab, like a new puppy parent trying to teach a dog to lure who is having trouble with it could get really stuck there. Whereas the trainer's going to go, oh, okay, you're just having a bit of trouble with that. Like we'll just work through it. One of the other things, so crate training is another one that if you're new to it and you don't know what to expect, it can be really hard to stick with it. They give up.
And a lot of them give up.
We've got dogs in our program that have accidentally been taught to bark in their crates. And I can imagine exactly how that's happened. Very hard to undo it, much more difficult to undo it than it would have been to just not have that happen. And every human being that's going through crate training a dog for the first time, or the first time in 12 years, or the first time ever, it is pretty hard for some people to get that. It sucks. Like it really sucks. Loading markers, like loading the yes marker, that's the kind of thing that not that hard to do. But if you stuff it up, it's a waste of time. So if we get it right, we got it right. And then it's like I've installed the button, like the pre-crow program.
Right.
I've installed the button, and then you just teach the person how to press the button. Totally. Like, great. I think those things are really valuable. But the thing that you've mentioned a couple of times that we haven't made a big deal out of yet is that you're recording all of this stuff, and the puppy parent is going back with the training videos, and the videos are from when the puppy didn't know it all the way through up until what they do know now. And so at any point, because when the owner starts trying to do stuff with the puppy, it's going to look very different to when Sue does it with the puppy, potentially. So when they can go back and go, well, it doesn't look like that when I do it, they can even video themselves and then compare your video to their video and be like, oh, that's why it looks different, is because I'm doing literally none of the things that Sue is doing. So
actually what I do is when the puppy goes home, I tell them they have to go back to day one of my training and do what I did.
Start
I tell them I said, your puppy is way ahead of you, and you have to go back to my day one and do all the basic stuff, standing against a wall on a little, piece of wood or carpet for the stationary heel. You need to figure out your reward delivery. You need to figure out where your treat pouch is going to be, which I tell them where they need to have it. You need to figure out how to hold the leash, how to get the food, how to have that engagement, where your puppy's position should be, how to keep them in behavior as you're rewarding them. And I go over all that. And I said, you can't go out on the street with your puppy. I mean, look, when I walk out the door and I hand them the puppy, they can do whatever they want. Like, basically, it's like, I tell them that. I said, I can tell you all these things and then leave, and you can do whatever you want. But if you want to continue in this training and have an awesome dog, you're going to go through everything from my day one. And also, I have engagement with your puppy and you don't. Yes, your puppy's cute and he has, he's going to follow you around. And if you occasionally throw him a treat here and there, he's going to kick in, and you're going to have your moments and you're going to have your bonding. But you're not going to have that boom where the puppy is locked onto you. And so going back to my day one on the videos and having them do all this for a week, where you're in your hallway or the side of your house against a wall, and you're just figuring it out, and you need to become fluid with all of your movements. You need to realize whether your puppy is he in the wrong position or is he in the right position? Did I just reward that wrong, or did I reward it correctly? And obviously some people are better at it than others. And some people put more time into it and think about it more. And other people just do the very basic version of it. But I tell them, I'm like, you can't just have your puppy handed back to you and hit the streets. You have to go through a couple of weeks at home, just like I did, doing all this preliminary work to get to that point where you can head out. And in fact, I have a little doodle dog that I just sent back, and they did have him for 2 weeks before I got him. And they walk about 2 blocks to their kids' school. And I can't remember what they told me, but they had a negative experience with the puppy with the dog, which was quite evident when I got him, even though he was fine with my dogs. And that's the other part about puppy raising. We can go back to that, is having a stable pack that your puppy is introduced to. But he had a negative experience with some dog. And so now he is just he sees a dog. This particular puppy had the most god-awful he screamed when he would see a puppy. He wouldn't bark. He would just scream and like flight mode. And like, you didn't have that hold of that leash, that puppy was gone. And so when I took him back, I said, so based on that, you really have to stay at home for 2 weeks and really get this locked down. And you really have to figure out that yes marker word to be able to use it, because I've seen him out on the street. I've seen a dog, somebody walking from a vet office across the path and going to the car and him freaking out. And I've seen him recover. So I know he can do it. And again, obviously it's easier for us. I have no problem being a clown. I will stand on a sidewalk and be an idiot, and everyone can look at me and be like, what the heck is she doing? And I'm just like, what? Let's go. And it's like, And so the average owner is not going to do that, but I try and implore that they do, and just, help their puppy recover from situations like that. And that particular puppy, they called me, they're like, we haven't taken him to the school run. I have, 3 follow-up sessions with them. So I'm like, okay, you've had him home for 2 weeks now. So my next session, I come out to you. Then we'll go over that. We'll go out on the street. I want you to actually see what it looks like and see what I do. And you can videotape me while I'm doing it. But, all these little things that happen, and all it takes is for them to do it wrong. Yeah. And you have a reactive dog. I think we just live in a completely different world where there's so many reactive dogs. People, I don't know what's changed. I can't put my finger on it. I mean, in the States, I know for sure, because growing up in England, and Europe, for sure, I feel like there are better trained dogs on the street because you can go everywhere with them. Yeah. People, as a kid, we would go take the dog to the store, tie it up outside, go in, get stuff for mom, get the dog and walk home, go on the bus, go on the train, do all those things. And here in the States, a lot of people have that mentality of, we've got a big backyard, so I don't really need to take him for a walk. And so, and also we're blocked at every turn. There's so many places that don't let you
dogs aren't
take
allowed.
Dogs.
Like Australia's the same. Dogs are not allowed hardly anywhere. So limited. Like they're starting to ban them from beaches. Like they can't even be on lead. Like think for how much we as a culture like love dogs, it's just ridiculous
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
how confined they are. But it's this like spiraling problem.
Sorry.
It's like obviously there's a problem with the reactivity of dogs. Dogs are poorly behaved, whatever. But then then the laws, like the local council laws and stuff, restrict them further because it's like no one wants these dickhead dogs around because they're a nuisance. But that makes the problem worse. Like the next generation of dogs are going to be even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember in California when I lived there was a mall, and it was a half indoor mall where you covered. And then there was a whole outdoor section where you could walk around, and there was cafes and restaurants and stores and everything. And it was just sidewalks and parking spaces and whatever. And you weren't even allowed to walk on like there were signs that you could not walk on the sidewalk around the outside of this mall. And then we had one restaurant in the same town that suddenly opened up its patio for dogs. So you have the person that their dog has been locked in their backyard for 5 years. They go, hey, that new restaurant down the road, we can take our dog to the restaurant. So then, like you said, you get the asshole dog that goes in there. They have them sitting on a chair, feeding food off the table.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, like the health department closes them down, or the restaurant just says enough of this, and it's gone. It's just it's madness.
We've got assistance dogs like behave like reactive, like where my clinic is in Redcliffe, down there all the time, and I'm out with my dogs all the time because my dogs don't work with me. But it's a very dog friendly area. But the amount of times that we've had like even like big name assistance dogs like that have reacted to my dogs, and I think something's going wrong here. Like something's not right.
More reactive.
Something's
I don't know what I don't know what it is, and it's here too. And obviously it seems like the UK is also, you see it a lot more with trainers and everything there talking about reactivity, and
that's all anyone talks about. It's all anyone talks about.
Don't know why, because like growing up, I don't remember walking down the street and having a dog bark.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
I don't know whether is it from the breeding? Is it just the way? I for sure know that there's that element of people that treat them like children that doesn't help, that they don't treat them like a dog.
Yeah.
There's that element, but that's not all of it. There's other stuff going on too.
I think our society has changed and our lifestyle has changed. Like no one's home during the day, everyone's working instead of someone being home more often with the dog. Our like activity levels have changed. Like we're sitting around on screens rather than, playing with the football outside. Like when I was a kid,
right,
all we did was be in the yard. That's all we did.
Yeah.
So the dog's hanging out with you in the yard the whole time, watching you fall out of the tree. As opposed to the sedentary lifestyle. There's probably the gentle parenting movement, there's probably a lot of things that have
fur babies.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. It's really contributed. But yeah, definitely it's all I hear trainers talking about ever is reactivity, which is valid because it's everywhere. Okay, so I'm gonna list off a couple of other things as well that I've picked up. So from what you've been saying, from what it sounds like. So if I was a dog trainer and I was considering this kind of model, I would want to know like how would I set this up? Like how many puppies would it be reasonable for a dog trainer to have at any one time, like one person? I think so. Whenever I have a board and train, I do sometimes do like a long weekend, and I'll have a dog here that I need to have for a couple of days for whatever reason. I know I've got a stable pack too of my own dogs. So what Sue was mentioning before is when you can socialize your young dog around stable older dogs, those dogs can teach your young dog lots of things. So lots of play skills. Invaluable. Absolutely. And that is actually what I said to this other person, it would have been a year or two ago, that she was talking about this idea. And I was like, you've got stable older dogs. You can absolutely market that. Like, because a lot of our puppy clients, because we're online, are looking for who can I socialize my dog with? Like, who can my dog play with? Because all the dogs they know are idiots, or they don't know anyone, like they're not supposed to be out down at the dog park just playing dog bingo. Like,
Yep.
who's going to be down there? So for them, like, to actually have the chance to socialize with a stable pack. But I do know that it takes a toll on my dogs when I have another dog here, because it impacts our routine and it impacts like them. So they don't always want to hear a dog crying in a crate or, stuff like that. So I know that it does, and it takes my time and attention away from them as well. But I'm not a full-time dog trainer. I have other full-time jobs. So if the dog trainers out there, I think that what are some of the risks, I guess, too, because I think it is a fragile age. Parvo is an issue, even though I'm like, I agree with what you're saying too, Sue. Like, we obviously definitely, we find that balance between safe socialization, considering Parvo, but it is a risk. The noise disturbance, like, what are the reasons that dog trainers shouldn't do it? Risk, stress our own dogs out. What are the things that they need to be aware of? Why is it hard? Makes it hard.
I couldn't imagine doing actual puppy boarding trains without having a dog or two that you can have around. My Staffy Mix and my Healer are my two main puppy raisers, and they're not, the puppies don't have, so I have an amazing setup, and I think that's really important if you're going to do, well, if you're going to do dog training, or if you're going to do any kind of board and train. But with puppy training, I have a dedicated yard that is just for puppies. And before I get a puppy, they have to have a full PCR test. I need to see if they've got Giardia, Coccidia, worms. And I won't do here. The vets tend to want to do like an in-house test, which doesn't. My vet explained it to me, because I didn't know this. A lot of vets will want to do an in-house one because I think they can charge and they make all the money on it. And the person that's actually looking at the slide could be somebody that's a tech that's worked there for 2 weeks, or somebody that's has 20 years experience and know that what they're looking at. But if you get your fecal sent out to a lab, that's all they look for. So I have a very strict requirement, and I've had to say to the client when they come back and go, "Oh, the vet said the in-house was fine," and I go, "Well, I can't take him then, because I told you specifically that I needed this,
to the lab,
sent out to the lab."
Yeah.
So I get that done, and I have zones, it's just the perfect setup. So I have my own yard that is just for puppies. And I'm a huge proponent every puppy that comes through here has to learn to be alone when I'm here and walking around and doing my normal thing. And it's a safe side yard that is puppy proofed, and it's concrete and it's gravel. And when they leave, I do a rotation of cleaning with bleach and rescue and flea and tick, and I'll just rotate through and spray. And so that's their kind of like free hangout time. And they can go down there and they have water and the toys and a chew. And then we do the daytime crating, where they'll come up for an hour at a time, 3 or 4 times a day. After a training session, I'll crate them. And they don't really have much. I'll do free time training where they're in the home.
Yep.
And monitor them. But there's not a lot of that's probably the least amount I do with them. And then, so as far as my dogs interacting with them, I have a separate yard on this side of my house, and I have another dog yard down in front. So my Staffy Mix right now I have my old lab that actually lives with my friend, but she's traveling. So they're out there. My Malinois Mix and my Healer are in another yard. So at night, everybody comes out. Or if I need to just do an interaction where we're going on a walk, which is usually where I first introduce them and have the puppy drag a leash, and my dogs are off leash, and we'll go on a walk through the ranch. And they're just like, the puppy's just like, "Well, this is crazy. This is right here." And my dogs don't pay any attention to them whatsoever. They could not care less. And so we're walking along, and the puppy's like, "Oh, okay." And it's just so damn amazing how quick they learn. This isn't a big deal. This is not a big deal. And so they have that first interaction. That's how I introduce them. And then when we are up on, I have a huge deck out here in front of me, and I'll have the puppy. I do a lot of training because it's really quite big, and I do a lot of training up here, and I'll bring my healer through. So my healer and my staffy mix are the two best ones at it. And I've got some really good videos because honestly, as trainers, we can predict when something's going to happen. And so, you know, you have the crazy puppy doing the zoomies and it's like going and getting in the face. And my staffy one time, both of them they give puppy privilege, like they give them like one shot.
Yeah.
Okay. You get one shot to jump up in my face and be a brat, be obnoxious. And then the second time, I'm going to tell you that that's not a good idea. And it's so, with my staffy, my healer's a little harsher, but it's still effective. But my staffy is so subtle. And this one puppy was like zooming, this little doodle. It was full of piss and vinegar, and it was just having a blast, boom, in the face. And she was just like, oh, noted. And then he came back and I was videotaping. And I knew, I said, he's going to go back and do it again. And she just was like, and I could watch this all day. I mean, it's better than television. Like when you watch animals and puppies interact and dogs interact and their body language and what's going on. And my staffy just did this and that was it. And the puppy read the play. She read what was happening and she was like, got it. Now, some puppies admittedly don't read the play and they're like, they missed that cue. And maybe they have to go in a third time and then it's a little bit of a harsher correction. My healer does the more of a snap, like knock it off.
Yeah.
And they're just like, whoa, okay. But then it's like, let's go run down the beach together. And I've got a golden retriever puppy that did that exact thing with her. Literally jumped on her. She ignored it, jumped on her a second time. And she just was like in the air, did a big snarl growl and it kept running. And the puppy was like, for the rest of the 5 minutes I was videotaping, they were all playing on the beach, but there was just this birth around that. He's like, I'm just going to stay 2 feet away from you at all times. And it's just like, I love it. That's my favorite part, is to watch this type of interaction. And that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen.
There's no other way to do it.
When you have your clients say, oh, I took them to the dog park, or I took them to Petco, or my friend has a Rottweiler and I had him, you know, bring them. He seemed like he's a sweet dog, had them bring the Rottweiler. Oh my gosh. No. My Malinois used to be a good corrector, and he had this one little tiny doodle that was a little miniature one. And that was probably his last one before he became crabby and was like, I'm done with this. And so I retired him from puppies.
Puppy duty.
But the other two are gold, absolute gold. Like it's the best. And
do you think the female dogs are better at that? Or have you seen them be the same?
I think so. Which is, as far as that goes. Although my lab, who's just visiting, he's a male and he's 12, but he doesn't correct.
He'll
just stand there.
That was exactly that lab. He died at like a year and a half. Exactly the same. But yeah, keep going.
So he'll just stand there. So the can carrier that I have right now had frustration barrier in a crate. Perfectly fine at night sleeping, because obviously it's an older puppy. So they've had him for, he's 6 months old. So they actually did the crate training and sleeping in a crate at night, which was great. But he had never done daytime crating. And obviously never been in a home where he's in a crate, which is right here, and my dogs are walking around at liberty. And so he literally would hit the cage and just go off. And I would just open the crate and go ahead, just knock yourself out. And he would huff and puff and run up to my lab and get in his face. And my lab was just like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he was totally deflated. And so he, it took him like 2 days to realize that going nuts in his crate when a dog walked by didn't work. Definitely didn't create any distance between him and them. But yeah, my lab doesn't correct. He's just, I'm like, come on, just give them a little nudge. And he's like, no, I can't.
Yeah, mine was very similar. He'd do a little bit from time, but we called him Uncle Sonny, because he was just the captain of play, teaching puppies how to play. He was very, very good at teaching play. But yeah, my two girls, like, yeah, they will tolerate, like, yeah, sounds like yours, but they'll tolerate,
Yeah.
and then they'll correct, and then sometimes they'll find a puppy that they want to play with. Like if they make a connection, they will play, but often they won't. Like they'll be like, I'll be around you, and I can also tell you not to do that to me.
Yeah.
That's kind of their thing. And my border collie was really good, but he's 10 and a half now, and he's I think he needs to be retired. I think he's a bit over it, but he's
What
sort
is
of,
my healers.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, what are sort of the red flags and green flags when it comes to correction? Like recognizing that in another dog, that's quite hard to.
It's reasonable force, Max. Like it's the puppy needs to not be injured or like terrified of the other dog, and we need to see that it was like warranted. Like I'm watching. Yeah, it's fair. Like, and it's not like my big dogs won't like go and bully a dog and take something off it, for example. They won't do that, but they won't they will not let a puppy take something off them. Like they'll be like, I have this, and puppies don't know because they've been in a litter. So they're like, I just try and take shit. Like, and the older dog will be like, you won't be taking this from me. And they're not allowed, they don't let them have it until they get up and leave it. Do you know what I mean? So, and instead of the older dog so what can happen is like an older dog in that sort of situation might just get up and move away and get up and move away and get up and move away, which is fine, except the puppy's just going to follow them. So what kind of needs to happen is the older dog needs to go, you get away, actually.
Yeah.
And they'll go do a little or something like that. And you see the puppy go like, oh, that's yours.
It's amazing how subtle it can be as well. Yeah. It's really, when a puppy is locked in and can like read another dog well, and they're just not like so zoomed out because they're, overstimulated. It's amazing how subtle the little crack. Sometimes I even miss it because it's so quick and it's not, and it's silent. Yeah. But my healer does the play too. She will pick puppies that she likes to play with, and she'll do the play vow, and she's like, let's go. And she'll like take them on a chase game out in the big yard, and they'll run around, and then they'll run into each other, and then she'll knock it off. I'm done now.
I don't know.
Yeah. And when you have a puppy that's not like learning, it can be, you still got to supervise. So you can't like, and that's the thing. Yes. People bring puppies home and just put them with the older dog, but you absolutely have to advocate.
And they're not watching.
They're not watching them. Yeah. Like, and so some puppies don't learn very well or quickly. Like, and so one of the other things I was going to bring up to Sue is that what I think would be a big value add for the service of puppy board and train is that you've now had a professional dog trainer live with your dog for 3 to 5 weeks or so, who has a really good understanding of who your puppy is now, because it's so much easier than it's going to be a lot easier for Sue to see and get a read on your puppy and go, this dog needs XYZ for this next part of its development, because they're not all the same. And sometimes people will bring a puppy home and they just harass an older dog. And what can happen is if a puppy learns that they can bully an older dog, that puppy is going to be a wanker. Like it just teaches them to be absolute dickheads to other dogs. They really do need an older dog to go, listen, mate, I'm bigger than you and I'm not taking any of your BS. They need to be corrected. So I was really worried. I've got this big livestock guardian dog, Sue, and she loves puppies. And we ended up with a staffy at a similar age. We've got a staffy that was like 5 or 6 months old or something. They're a similar age. And they loved to play together. But the big livestock dog was letting the staffy just go to town on her, like, because she just loves puppies. And she was just letting the staffy do whatever she wanted. And I was like, that actually cannot
you have to stop it.
I had to stop it. I had to separate it, because I was like, the last thing I need is a staffy that thinks it can do whatever it wants. And this dog would be 6 times her size. Like, she's huge. Like, the reality, she's like 55.
Right.
So last thing I need And the last thing I
Right.
need is for this Staffy to be walking around thinking I'm king
Thinking
shit.
that rule the world.
I rule the world because I bash my older sister and she's massive.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I was very careful that she had time with her to build the play and the fun in play. And then it was very limited. And then I'd separate them.
Yeah.
And then it finally did get to a point, they're both still entire. Finally did get to a point where the livestock dog, she just won't take any shit. Like, and the little Sappy will try, she'll try and be like, hey, get away from my mum or something like that. And the livestock dog will just be like, bang, like a holder on the ground. And Staffy's like, ah. And I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't start fights like that, actually. But if you bring a puppy home just to your dog that you already had, or you've got friends or family that got a dog, and it's not going well, if it's not, and it might look like it's going well, like it might look like, oh, they're playing so well together, it's great. But the reality is that it's got to be supervised, and you've got to know when to like go, this puppy that looks like they're having fun, but really actually there's a bad habit. Formed.
Look, they're playing. No, they're not playing. One's being a bully and the other one's getting totally attacked. And that's a good point as well that I actually had never actually thought about, is that, I mean, yes, I knew it as it was happening, but never like laid it out, that when I do send a puppy back, I know all the little quirks of that puppy, and to actually go like the doodle dog that had something happen to it when they had it the first 2 weeks, where the dog had a negative experience and now it's reactive. Like, I know their puppy inside and out, and I'm going to go, these are the things that you need to focus on. These are the things that you can't do. You need to wait until it's a little bit older until you do this. And so this is what you need to watch for. Like, so when I had this healer border collie mix come through like 2 months ago, I like to do vet visits, even if they don't have an appointment. I will go do vet visits. And this particular dog was totally, I mean, loved food above and beyond. And I had him on the table, and I thought, well, you know what, I'm just going to do, I had my meatballs, but I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do a licky mat, because we were going to do his second round of vaccinations and a rabies vaccination, because they were going to travel off the island. So they need to have it before they leave. And he needed, I can't remember, a couple other things being done, checked, whatever. And so I'm just going to put a licky mat down, and I usually smear like baby food in there, like beef flavored baby food. And I was at his head, and the vet just went to slightly move him over a little bit. And it was a really subtle little like grumble, like he was being moved away from his food. And I was like, you saw that, right? And she's like, yep, I saw that. And so I took it away, and I went back to the meatballs, where he was just able to target on my hand. And so I was able to tell the owner, I'm like, you could possibly have a dog that has resource guarding over food. Don't let your kids go take, not that they should. I always tell them that anyway. Hate that whole philosophy. It's like, well, I should be able to take my dog's bowl of food away. And I believe you should just leave your dog to eat. Yeah. And so I was able to tell them, I said, there's a small possibility that he could be a resource guarder. So you just need to watch for that, especially because they had a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old. And if he's got a chew or something, I'm like, so that kind of thing, you know, unfortunately with the family, they're going to learn the hard way if they haven't read the dog or read the body language and have figured it out. So they get all these, you know, bonus things that they, you know, learn about their puppy from me having them here for like 3 to 5 weeks. So,
which is invaluable insight. Like the last one I had here was like 5 or 6 months old, and it you know, is here for 4 days or something. And even in that time, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see what's going on here. Like, absolutely. And I've like, same thing, made some videos and stuff for the owner, you know, when I gave the dog back, to be like, this is how I managed these behaviors, because she's got the same behaviors at her house. This is how I manage these behaviors, and I've put it all together, and she can look back and go like, huh, like that works. So, okay, because you could see the behavior in the video, and then you can see me manage it, and then you can see him just like settle down and do whatever, like go and lay down.
Right.
It's like, if you've got to see it to believe it, I feel like for a lot of people to go like, okay, it does work. Like, but I always explain to her, I'm a different person to you as well. And the way that I do stuff is going to feel different to the dog, because it's I'm got more experience, so it's going to feel different to the dog. It's going to be more confident sort of stuff. I think sometimes handlers, like, they might be second guessing, the owners might be like sort of second guessing themselves as well when they're trying to work with their puppies. So then the dog's like, what's going on actually? So yeah, I think that's invaluable to get that level of insight back about your own dog.
Yeah, it's like a personalized course. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. And it also goes, but going back to the puppy on the table with the licky mat, it was very subtle. There's no way the owner would have even noticed that. And so it would have escalated until he could gone into a full growl thinking somebody was going to take his food away from him. But instead it was like, nope, not going to do that. And he got his licky mat taken away and he'll never have a licky mat again. So,
it's exactly the type of thing. So if however the owner handled that in that situation could have made or break the whole thing. Yeah. Like, if all they've got to do is just not know what to do in that. And why would people know what to do? Like,
why would they know? Exactly.
Why would they know?
They don't.
They're not going to, the vet's not going to even know. Like, you need.
I mean, it does bring up the point of, how did we ever have pet dogs without knowing all this stuff? How did my mom and dad ever have a pet dog? And we ended up having amazing dogs because when you think of all the information, and like I said before, when I take home a puppy, the amount of information I want to impart on the owner, and it's a lot, and I try not to do all of it. It just makes you wonder, like, how did we do it 30, 40, 50 years ago? Like,
But you can say the same about human kids, Sue.
Yeah.
Like,
you
can say the same thing. Like, we sort of turned out all right. Like, what's going on now? Like,
right.
We didn't have,
for sure.
We didn't have all of the same problems when we were kids, like to what kids have now. And you can look at the kids and be like, what's wrong with you guys? But they're just a product of how things have changed, society's changed and stuff like that. But I do have that same reflection sometimes. I think, are we overcomplicating this? Like, are we making this overcomplicated? But I don't know why things are the way they're. I'm just looking at
the biggest thing for me is with the board and train is, I love that I can hand somebody a puppy and know I have done everything in my power to set them off on the right path, set them up to succeed. And at least I've got them to, if they don't do any training and follow up with the actual training, at the very least, I've got that puppy through their critical period.
Yeah.
Very least.
Yeah. Which does make a difference. And I guess I was a bit, I know that, like, I do know that, but I've even seen recently, like, my livestock guardian dog, she gets car sick, really bad car sickness when she was little. And so it was really hard for me to socialize her a lot, because you still socialize those dogs, even though they're like your working farm dog, they still socialize them the same way up until 16 weeks. And so anyway, I did that. And like, I didn't get to do as much as I probably would have liked to, because I had to be careful because she'd be sick. Like, she'd take her in the car and she'd be sick, tried everything, tried medication, tried everything to help her. She was like that when she was with the breeder. So I already knew. But anyway, I was just sort of most of the time I'd do a bit more, but I was just a bit limited by that because I didn't want her rocking up places sick.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so I did that up until, and then I stopped taking her places, which I wouldn't normally do either, but I stopped taking her places once that window finished, because I was like, and then she got big and it's hard to get her in the car. She went and did a snake avoidance course at one point when she was about a year old, which was like 4 trips to this place. She did a PATS boot camp. Should have been about a year old as well, which we lived in the van for 6 days together. That's it. I'm breeding her. So she's being leased by a breeder. And I had to go to I don't know if you've ever been involved in this before, Sue, my Lord, to breed a dog. Shout out to the breeders out there. Got to go get these progesterone tests. So you got to take dog into the vet. They take their blood and test the progesterone because she's getting artificially inseminated. Frozen semen. So it's like a big deal. I don't really know. The breeders are all sorting it.
Yeah, I've never been a part of that.
I don't really know the story. I'm just like rock up at the vet with my dog. my dog that hasn't really ever done well with travel, I bought a van so that she could travel better, but it's not running. So anyway, I had to figure out how to put her. She just came in to season. Like, you don't know when it's going to happen. It just happened. I thought I had more time. I was going to prepare her, whatever. Anyway, an hour each way with like good traffic to this vet, because you got to go to the repro specialist, and a blood test when she gets there, right? It's very quick, but sometimes you got to wait for the vet. 9 progesterone tests. So they're like 2, 3, 4 days apart. Her progesterone was rising really slowly. Couldn't believe it. 9 times I had to drive to this vet 5:30 in the morning with this dog. Her behavior, impeccable. Her temperament, outstanding. Like, she would have been, because all the breeding dogs are there, because this is the repro guy. So all the breeding dogs are there in the morning at 6:30 to get these tests done. So there's all these different breeds, and everyone's getting progesterone. She was so well behaved. She hasn't been off this farm in at least a year. Like, she's only 24 months old. I could not believe every dog. She was like, "Hey, I'm Kiki." And I'm like, don't bring him over. She's 55 kilos. I'm like, don't bring him over. I don't know how she actually is going to behave. They've got these dogs here. There's this Malinois there that's carrying on like an absolute idiot, barking at her. And she's like, "Hi." There's German Shepherd that's screaming at everyone. And she's like, "Hi." And like all these different breeds, every dog. She's like, "Hello." Every single person that she come across, "Hello. Yes, I'm Kiki." She's going to the vet's office because they figure it out 9 times. Like, they figure out what's happening.
Right.
They pick up, because you just got to sort of sit with her and hold her, and they just pick up her foot and they just take the blood, So she's getting stuck with the needle, and so the vets would like come into the room at first and she'd go, "Oh, and then she'd be a good girl and sit and get her blood taken. And then as soon as they've taken her blood, she's like, "Can I have a pat now? Because I'm a good girl." And the vet loved her. And I was thinking, wow, that early socialization's pretty key, isn't it? Like,
right.
This was literally like last week that this was happening. And I'm like, my mind's blown. I do a lot of development with her on property. I work from home too. We have people come and go. She loves people. She doesn't get access to many people because she's put in her pen because she's a guard dog.
Right.
So I'm looking at her behavior out there, out and about. She hasn't seen like traffic. Like, she hasn't seen any of that.
Genetics is an amazing thing, isn't it?
Isn't that incredible?
And the critical period, like you getting her out. But when genetics can take over and just,
and breed, like, she's just, they're a wary breed, but she's a strong-minded dog. But I really did think, wow, like, it is key, that critical period. Like, it is really key. She's never been someone, no issues. There's dogs out there being skull dragged through the vet doors because the door's automatic and whatever, and they've got to have their ultrasound. Like, so this dog, and I'm like, these are breeding dogs. Like, I don't judge them too much because some dogs just don't like the vet, and I get that. But like, far out, man. For her to just walk in there every day, she knew she was going to go get stuck with the needle. She'd just walk in there every day. "Hello, my name's Kiki." So really, there's been a few things going on for me lately, and I really have reflected on this puppy board and train thing, and I can feel like I'm doing a little bit better at separating myself and who I am as a person and how I want to raise a puppy to the general public. I think a couple of takeaway things to summarize. That critical period is very important. And if you're going to find a trainer like Sue, unfortunately, guys, unless you're already in Hawaii, you can't send your puppies to Sue. That's not going to work. But I think if we're looking for a board and train trainer in Australia, being mindful of just how much information Sue's given us today about like how to choose a trainer, because not all trainers are the same. Not all trainers know not all trainers have a stable adult dog, et cetera, et cetera. So I think maybe ask a few questions, have a conversation with the trainers first about what their plan looks like, and make sure that the expectations are clear between the trainer and the client, because there's absolutely no way you're getting a trained dog home. Like you're going to get, like Sue said, you're going to get a dog that's had some pre-programming done. You're going to have some buttons installed. The puppy, I really like when you said before, the puppy's going to be ahead of you, which gives the owner time to catch up. And I think that's really key about your program, is that it's all been videoed. That's timeless. Like the owner's going to have that to refer back to. And then there's that post board and train program support as well. So it's like you're doing other appointments as well, helping people implement stuff. But if nothing gets implemented and nothing gets done, first of all, that's very silly, because you've wasted all your money on this board.
Right,
training.
exactly. Which
like, it's
doesn't make any sense, but it happens a lot.
And absolutely, like, people waste money with us sometimes
Right.
too. But yeah, the reality is you're still getting home like a 16-week-old puppy, 16, 17-week-old puppy. Like, they still are a lot of work, but absolutely, like, by the time my puppy is 16, 17 weeks old, I'm definitely feeling like, whew, like we're over some of the, like some of that earlier stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I'm definitely feeling like, okay, we're moving forward. Like, we're making progress. I don't feel
you have engagement, you have like the basics started. Just to touch real quick on the bonding thing, because that was what was brought up. I just want to also point out, we did touch on it where you were like, well, how do you ever bond with a dog that you rescue from a shelter? But how do you ever, like, all the fosters, like all the homeless camps that we have here, where they go in and rescue a mom in a litter, and those puppies go into a foster home and stay there sometimes until like they're 4 or 5 months old, and then go to a new family. You're telling me that those puppies never bond with their new family? And the other thing is, in Hawaii, my healer is the only dog. That's not true. My healer and cat, the terrier, are the only two dogs that I got from here. My cat, the little scruffy terrier, was from a rescue. She was 1 year old. My healer was a COVID puppy, $200 in a parking lot. But when I wanted my shepherd mix and I wanted my lab, there are no breeders here that have what I want. And my Dobermans, for sure, there's nobody here. We have to go through. Back then, when I got my lab, the quarantine was basically you're not getting your puppy until 10 months old. So if I buy an 8-week-old puppy on the mainland, then it's going to either I have to pay the breeder to keep it, but luckily in Los Angeles, I have a whole army of trainers that I used to work with. So I am confident that they get to go to a safe place and land there while we do all the blood work, the rabies titer, get everything, do the waiting period. Now they've shortened it. Your puppy will land here around 5 months old. But even then, oh my gosh, how did I ever bond with those dogs that I got when they were 5, 6, 7, 10 months old, when they went from 8 weeks to 2 or 3 different people's homes, because not one trainer kept them. They got moved around a few times. And you're telling me that I'm not bonding with my 5-month-old puppy that I've just seen for the first time, and I'm spending the rest of my life with. I just don't know how anybody can actually say that and believe it. But anyway, so that's the last thing, is so many people here in Hawaii, that's how they have to get a puppy.
Yeah.
And we used to be able to do it from Australia, because we actually could get a 12-week-old puppy shipped here, but our CDC just changed all the rules. And so now the CDC said that you can't ship anything under 6 months. So the United States of America no longer allows any puppy. We can go from the mainland to here. It's still 5 months, but from any outside countries now, you can't bring in anything under 6 months.
Why?
Which has messed up a whole lot of breeding programs. When you think about all the working dogs, like the Malinois, like I think military get exceptions, but when you think about all the people that used to go to Europe and import dogs to the States for breeding, you don't get your puppy until 6 months.
Even my breed, like the livestock guardian dog, like her sister, my dog's sister, lives in the States, and like my breeder of my dog, she sent her that dog like as a puppy. So even that sort of, like, because that's like my mind's exploding, like short circuiting here.
Yeah.
Because that's how we need to, like, lots of breeds, like the genetics, like
Yep.
we're trying to diversify genetics and like get good genetics into other people's breeding programs. So like,
yeah.
well, I thought because, I wonder what that's all about. I thought that because we didn't have
And
rabies
it makes
here.
it's, I know. And you'd think that there would be some exception to go from a rabies-free country to a rabies-free country, but they're like, CDC is like, nope, doesn't matter where you're coming from.
Interesting.
They have to be safe. And even if you lived on the border, there's Facebook groups, and the comments and the people going off on about it. But even if you lived on the border of Canada, where you just literally drive like 20 minutes, people live in Canada or vice versa, the United States on the border, and may drive to their vet, maybe in Canada, but they live in the United States.
Yeah.
So they can't do that anymore. If they've got a puppy, if they've got an 8-week-old puppy in Canada, but their vet is 20 minutes across the border in the US, they can no longer do that.
These blanket rules, like.
And they're trying to make it here where the Humane Society is trying to make it so that every dog brought to Hawaii has to be neutered and spayed.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And we just literally went through the whole bill system here at the beginning of the year is when all the new bills get thrown through and you have to like testify and be like, no, you can't do that. So we just went through all of that with the Humane Society saying that we have an overpopulation problem. No, the overpopulation isn't from the responsible person researching a breeder on the mainland and shipping a Labrador here. It's from the homeless camps and the pet stores paying them to go down there and breed puppies. So they're always misdirected in their goals as to what they should do. And that's just one more thing. But yes, that's another podcast.
Even with that stuff like happening and like the CDC rules changing and stuff like that, where do you think all those dogs are going to be while they're waiting to be 6 months old to be shipped? Like if I've got to ship Anatolian Shepherds to the States for whatever reason, like if I have to do that, guess who's going to have the Anatolian until it's 6 months old? It's me in a board and train. Like the board and train of young dogs, like obviously now it's going to be a bigger thing. Like, because otherwise we can't send the dogs. Like, so, but guarantee, like, especially like my breed, any puppy that stays here for like anything past the 8 weeks, like when they would normally go home, is getting trained because the bitch is training. Like that's how they work, those dogs. Like the mum trains the little dogs on how to behave around the livestock and stuff like that.
Right.
So, and like all that exposure to the livestock, chickens, goats, horses, blah, 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 all that stuff. That's all their training. So that's going to cost money if I have to do that.
Right.
And one of the things I said to Sue Max before we finish up is I just don't understand how people are willing to pay so much money like for a puppy board and train. I don't get it. But I can't understand that from my perspective, as we've discussed. But you better believe if I was taking on someone's puppy for 3 to 5 weeks, I would be charging through the nose. Like there is no way. I was saying to Scott, like, I'm not going to ruin my life for like that next 3 to 5 weeks because there's so much work. There's so much work. So it's going to be expensive because you're paying a professional for a board and train for like a puppy.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much work.
Every step they take is a teachable moment.
Yeah.
And if you let them make their own decisions, they're going to make the wrong ones. So it's every step they take. And people don't realize that until they're a year old and they have all these problems and then they have to have behavior mod and they're paying then. So, yeah.
So you can expect to pay for it, guys. And if dog trainers out there, I would be charging for it too. Like there's no way I'd be raising dogs and not charging for it because it's not.
I mean, when you break down what I charge to an hourly rate, it's nothing, when you actually figure out the hours that you put in.
Yeah.
but it's
You
a
have
chunk
to
of
be
money.
on
And
all the time to a degree, even when
yeah, I can't go
you're aware
anywhere.
of, you're aware of where they are, what they need, and that's not a job that you clock in and out of like on a
No,
9 to
it's a good
5.
job I'm not a very social person because I don't have a social life. And when we just had some recent floods here, and my other friends went off to help the community, and I'm like, I can't go an hour and 27 minutes in any direction because I have puppies at home. So I can't go anywhere or do anything. And people are like, "Well, can you come into town for dinner?" And I'm like, "It's an hour each way and then 2 hours for dinner." No, I can't.
No. Yeah. Exactly. This exactly. And of course, like, it makes sense to me now. Of course, people are going to pay someone else to do that if they can afford to. They're going to pay someone else to do that. Yeah. So, yeah, it makes sense to me. It makes a lot more sense to me, especially, So I'm hoping this.
Well, I'm glad I brought it up.
Yes,
I'm glad I brought that post up because
it's a little bit
totally
of fun.
thrown by it.
It's a little bit of. It was fun for me because I was like, I know exactly who all these people are. Like, I was like, oh, I haven't seen the post or looked for it. I'm a bit lazy like that, but I was like, I bet I know who that's about, and I know who that person is. I was like, oh, that's a bit fun, but it's not that fun when you're shitting all over someone's business model. Like, when really we probably all just needed to have a little bit of a think and a chat about it and go, I can see it from both perspectives. I can see that there's absolutely owners who are not going to need this. Like, they don't need this. They can sort it out. They can figure it out. And I can see that there are absolutely owners who do need this and they should do this, and their life with their dog, the next 12 to 15 years of their life with this dog is going to be a lot easier if they just hand this off to someone else and go, I know what's involved. I know I don't have time. I can't take the time off work. I can't do whatever. Or like, my wife's about to have a baby, like, or someone's just been diagnosed with some illness. Or whatever it might be. Absolutely. I can see that there would be people that absolutely should do this. As far as for the trainers, I think choose wisely your path, because like what Sue's saying, it is, even when I have a board and train here for, like, I do the long weekend, I don't go anywhere and do anything. Like, I'm not just leaving dogs, like, but I would be able to if I don't have the big setup with big proper runs and stuff. You'd be able to leave an older dog for a couple of hours and go do whatever you want to do. But puppies cannot be left for very long at all. So it's a huge, and then you've signed up for 3 to 5 weeks of that. So that's a huge commitment for your lifestyle and things like that. And I think trainers who are, because Sue does the movie stuff, but only does puppy board and train. It's not.
And the good
trying
thing
to
is,
manage other
like,
stuff.
When I have I worked the last 4 days on a movie just now, yesterday and the days before that, and I get to take the puppy with me because I'm the animal trainer. It's like, I'm just training another movie animal. Like, they don't know and they don't care. Like, the productions never care if you bring an extra dog or a puppy. So that puppy gets to see, and of course, I'm not walking him around like, the set with cameras and booms and stunt people doing crazy shit, but they get little 10-minute periods where they get to go out and see stuff they would never normally see on a movie set. And then they go back in their crate, and then we go around the corner and have a little playtime. And so, going with me when I have to work on a production is another part of it. And my lab that I have right now, I know we're wrapping it up, but I have a lab on the mainland from a breeder that's replaced from a working line that's replacing my retired dog. And I know he's not going to land here till he's 6 months old because of the quarantine and everything. So I have him lined up to go to a trainer. She's a PSA trainer in Texas. I'll have him flown to her. And I have specific things that I want him to learn during his critical period. It's super important that he learns to be, and I picked a trainer that has livestock. I want him to be raised around horses. And my lab has done, not only did I do the Labrador puppy Super Bowl commercials, but my adult lab did a Budweiser Super Bowl commercial because he has been raised around horses and he's rock solid. And they had bad experiences in the past with the Budweiser commercials and the Clydesdales, where a dog hasn't, and they've had a studio dog bite one of them. So the people that train the horses from now on are like, if it's a dog, Stu's doing it. And so, yeah, I want specific things for my lab to learn during his critical period with another trainer on the mainland, because I can't get my hands on him. And I've got that checklist of things that I want her to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. Well, makes sense to me now. So hopefully that's, given everybody a little bit more of a balanced view and idea of the puppy board and train thing. If you're sitting here going like, I could never, that's fine. You don't have to.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
You don't have to.
I'm not trying to steal your puppy away from you and dragging it into my home.
And if someone's saying to you it's compulsory, it's not, unless you're under some kind of contract with the breeder or whatever, and they've got some whatever. But it's not compulsory that dogs go to dog trainers for puppy board and trains. If you've got a trainer who's saying that they are going to give you a therapy dog after a puppy board train, that's not true. They might be able to give you a dog that's been exposed to, like Sue was just saying, her list of things that she's got specific for her dog. If you've got a trainer who knows what they're doing, then yes, then they can probably have a checklist of things that they go, well, as a therapy dog, this is the kind of things that I would be looking for them to be socialized to and stuff like that. Generally speaking, I'm not too worried about exactly what our therapy dogs are exposed to, as long as they have good experiences with the things that they do. I'm not too worried. We want confident, stable pups. So, if they're confident, stable pups, it's like Kiki. She's never been into this vet clinic getting stabbed with the needle 9 times, but she's not real worried about it because she's confident, stable dog. Like, she hasn't seen all these trucks and buses and whatever. She's not real worried about it because she's a confident, stable dog. Like, because I told her that she's invincible her whole life because I wanted her to believe that. So, so she's walking around out there thinking, I'm sweet. Like, I'm the biggest dog out here. Doesn't matter. That's what we're looking for, is that sort of stuff. So, if anyone's got any questions or they're just not sure about what to do next, whether you're a breeder or a dog puppy parent buyer or a dog trainer or whatever, you can always reach out to me and I'll see if I can help make people make decisions as much as I can. What about you, Sue?
It is a hard decision to pick the right person, because there's lots of trainers on this island that I wouldn't even send my adult dog to for behavior mods. So
absolutely,
to send your puppy to, it's very hard, very hard. And so, that comes from just talking to a lot of people or seeing a young puppy on the street and asking, your puppy's well behaved. Where did you get your puppy trained?
And if that puppy is 12 months old, that's going to give you a better idea than if you see that puppy when it's just come back from the border trail, whatever, like things like that as well, because we often don't see the results of what has happened early on until the dogs are 1 or 2 years old, and then like the cracks finally crack wide open, and we're like,
yeah. And I also like one of the friends that are dog trainers, the service dog trainer, when she gets somebody that comes to her and they're like, I'm getting an Australian Shepherd and I want it to be a service dog. And she doesn't do puppy, like she doesn't, either the owner can start on the process for task training or whatever is needed. So she says, if you want somebody to start it, send it to Sue. So I've actually gotten quite a few of her dogs that she's going to train later. And then she will just tell me what that puppy is going to be trained for, what tasks that it's going to need to do. And if it's most of the time, if it's a retrieve, then I will start a retrieve on a puppy. Obviously, any kind of detection stuff, I don't usually mess with that. But like I just had a 12-week-old Cavapoo who is going to be a service dog. And when she went home, she could go retrieve a pill bottle with a little paracord leash on it. And so she already had a head start of her, service dog training. So there's lots of
really cool.
It's just endless. It's endless.
Very cool. All right. Thank you so much for your time. So do you have like an Instagram or something that people can follow along your journeys or?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really I'm not one of those trainers that just constantly put stuff out there. Tail Sticks is my Instagram, and it's a mishmash of stuff. It's not really just my dog training stuff. So
Tail, Tail.
Sticks.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, well, thank you so much
Sue.
for your time, Sue.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Been an absolute pleasure.
So good. Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you're interested in studying with us, but you have a few more questions before you get started, please get in touch with us by emailing info@therapydog.com.au or visiting our website, www.therapydog.com.au, for more information and our FAQs.